بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Al-Imam al-Tabarani collected in his Mu'jam on the authority of Hudhayfa ibn Usayd. He said that the Prophet ﷺ said, من آذى المسلمين في طرقهم وجبت عليه لعنتهم. Anybody who causes harms in the paths that people use, he is worthy of them cursing him. And in many other ahadiths where the Prophet ﷺ made it very, very imperative that if you want to be sitting around the paths or using paths, roads, meaning places people that use to cross to get to their destinations. He made it sallallahu alayhi wasallam imperative that not only to avoid sitting around those areas, because should you want to be using those roads, for instance, and this is especially common in areas where there is a big population, big cities, with neighborhoods where people are on top of each other. Now, we're not talking about environments where people are spaced out in their homes when they live in, meaning they really have to travel by car to get to the next house. But we're talking about communities where they are literally concentrated in those areas. And usually they have the streets that are used by so many of them, roads. And he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if you want to sit around those areas, you have to give that its due right. They said, Ya Rasulullah, what is the due right for me to sit? For instance, people, they sit in a cafes, let's say. Or they sit in corner stores. Or what is the right of those places for me to use and to sit around those areas? He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to lower your gaze, to reply to somebody who greets you with a salam. Somebody says, Salaam alaikum, and he says to enjoy good and forbid evil, and to be patient if somebody harms you, not to retaliate, and instead always be courteous and jump on any opportunity to help the next person. These are the rights of being in those places. Now, he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in this regard, that anybody on the opposite side of the coin would cause people harm by doing something on those paths, meaning throw garbage on those paths for people to have, be harmed with the smell, with the dirty floors and dirty areas. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that person is worthy of their curse. Meaning, should somebody say, may Allah curse you for doing this, even if they didn't see you, may Allah curse the one who did this wrong thing. That curse is bound to be answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what the meaning of the hadith is. And this is why he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the iman that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set for us to establish for ourselves within this deen is of 70 some levels. He says the highest grade of iman is La ilaha illallah. And the lowest grade, imatatu al-adha an al-tariq, is to remove harm that you may see on the road, on the path that people are using. Meaning, you're walking around and you saw something that is harmful on the path. Don't say, well, I didn't do it, so it's not my business. No. The lowest grade of manifestation of iman in you is for you to stop and remove that harm. That is the lowest level of iman. Meaning, if you see it and it doesn't really, desensitize to it, meaning it doesn't really move you at all, you really need to revise your sense of iman. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ in this regard is putting an emphasis on not only to remove harm if you see it on the path that people are using, but be sure never to be the cause of any harm that could affect people on those paths. If you see nails on the road, don't be the one to throw those nails on the path of people to step on them and hurt themselves. Glass shattered, don't be the one to throw a bottle that will shatter glass on people to be harmed with it. And so many examples of that for. Let alone to be the person who would be causing harm by sitting on the path and will be literally, verbally abusing this person and the next person and mocking that person. That is also a harm on the path. All of these categorically, in general, are, subhanAllah, one of those foundations for a very calm and serene and peaceful community that you and I should contribute to. Because when it comes to communities we live in, they have to have some laws in place. And these are one of those laws that the Prophet ﷺ is putting out for us to really adhere to and implement. Why? Because we need to be element that will bring positiveness, positivity rather, to the community, not the people that would bring harm. And it is through those things, and you consciously making sure that those things are in place and reinforce them. Not only be the person, but you advocate for these kind of things, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you tremendously for these kind of things, especially when they're done with that intention of doing it for Allah's sake. Then it becomes more of a form of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us mindful of these mannerisms and make us amongst those who advocate for good and those who would forbid evil. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين.